What is the new bare minimum for an artist that just posted their song on Spotify?
It really comes down to,
do you think there's going to be too many wannabe producers?
we could see 1 million songs uploaded to Spotify every single day.
Why don't you just sing it? You're not actually singing.
This directly changed the art. Doechii, I think, is putting on a masterclass right now.
Hey, Jeff Nang here, and welcome to the What's Real Music show, where we explore the cutting edge of music and tech. And as always, I'm here with my co-founder,
Rohan.
But today, we've got an extra special guest in the house. This guy has been making moves behind the scenes in the music industry, working with some of the biggest record labels. But instead of just playing in the background, he's taken everything he's learned and built his own company, shaping the future of entertainment as we know it. Everyone, give it up for Tyler Eilenberg. What's up, Tyler?
What's up? Appreciate you guys having me. Very excited for the conversation and excited to get into it. Chop it up.
I love it, man. Thank you for being here with us. Where are you calling from today, man?
I'm calling from the polar vortex that is the East Village in Manhattan.
Nice. Snowing, I guess.
At the moment, no, but it's cold enough to where you don't leave the apartment.
Yeah, it's definitely snowing here in London. How about you, Rohan?
I just escaped from LA. There's unfortunately lots of fires there, so hopefully everyone's safe. Wishing everyone the best there. We'll see how that pans out.
So yeah, let's get into it. For the viewers that don't know, Tyler, just give us a quick intro of who you are, what you do, what you've done. Yeah.
Well, I am Tyler, and I've been working in the music industry for the last 10 years. Worked at the University of Michigan. I was an economics major out there. Worked for Sony Music for a couple of years. Graduated, made my way west to learn about the touring side of music. So I worked at WME for around 8 months for one of the music partners out there. Shout out David Levine. And quickly learned that I didn't think a booking agent was going to be my future. So I shot some resumes out, ended up landing with the global head of creative at Universal Music. Shout out Dave Rocco. And worked for him at Universal Music Center for 3 years and moved out to New York, where I was the director of creative innovation at Republic Records. What that means exactly, I guess we'll get into on the podcast at some point. And now, 7 months ago, I launched my company called Deep Prints, which is an amalgamation of everything I have done over these last 10 years at the intersection of emerging tech, music tech, gaming, music, creative, marketing, fandom, and everything in between.
You've had a journey, man. You've been from label to label. It sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, from Universal to Republic, from WME, have had from interning at Columbia Records too, I guess, in school. So I guess I've had a good run within the label system and developed a pretty solid understanding of the inner workings of how the majors work.
Did you have a musical background?
No, actually, not in the slightest. The music industry was kind of always plan A, and there wasn't plan B. I think I wrote my college essay on my dream of becoming the president of a record label. I also wrote my admissions essay to the Ross School of Business on that. That's probably why I didn't get into the Ross School of Business, because it didn't involve investment banking. Funny enough, would later speak at the Ross School of Business about music. Funny how the world works, 9 years later. But no musical background. Although if I could back in time, I would slap, 12-year-old Tyler in the face and tell him to pick up a saxophone, because I just think that is by and far the best
instrument.
Yes. Oh, not even a question.
I was really bad, but I played it.
Oh, you played sax?
Yeah.
You were much cooler than I was. My God.
I tried.
I've always wanted to play sax, and that's why I'm so glad that we have a saxophone in controller voice now. So we can literally change our voice to a sax.
Should we do the rest of this interview in saxophone?
Shall we? It seems like you've had a ton of experience with these labels. What was the reason why you thought to jump and do your own thing? Because it's a big move, right? To have all of these accolades and meet all of these people, and then say one day, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. I've had enough. What was it and why?
I think right now there is no better time in music to start a music and tech company, because of what is going on across both streaming services and social. Distribution has never been easier. Someone in their basement in Kentucky can reach people in Indonesia, South Korea, the entire continental US, literally anywhere in the world, because of the algorithms and the distribution channels that have been created through the Instagrams, through the TikToks. And as you can see, that has created a much larger group of people who create music, of artists, and then you parlay that with the advancements within actual music creation. I thought it was fascinating. The other day, I'm in a group chat with a lot of my friends from Michigan, and they all work within finance, real estate. One's an architect. And two of my friends went back and forth and just had a song battle. And every 2 minutes, a new song would come out. And it was fully produced, full lyrics, mixed, mastered, everything. And they have no musical background at all.
Wait, how did they do it? Did they generate it?
I got to check again at the platform they use. But I mean, these were like descriptive, detailed songs. Like the lyrics were very personalized. And that was kind of just like a light bulb moment. It's like, you go back 40 years ago and you needed expensive studio time. You needed the machinery. You needed 8 people in the room to mix, master, to produce it. You needed a sound engineer. And now, Billie Eilish creates a 5-time Grammy Award-winning album from her bedroom with her brother. And now, my friends are sitting in their office in Midtown Manhattan, sending fully created songs in, 30 seconds. Now, I don't think that's the future. And I hope my finance friends aren't the future of music and artistry. But I think it goes to show the overall trend of, we've seen such advancements within music tooling and creation, and you parlay that with the distribution networks that have been created with these algorithms on popular socials. It's never been an easier time to be seen. You don't necessarily need the record label to put you on Jimmy Fallon, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Z100, these historical amplifiers. Now an artist can walk into the building and be like, yo, I have 40 million followers on TikTok. Like, what does a deal look like now? Because it's probably not going to be historically what it was. And yes, and I guess long-winded, that's only creating more artists. And those are just more artists that need tooling to reach more fans. It's kind of like we're seeing a generational shift in music. And it's
definitely like a new paradigm that we're entering, and it's kind of crazy. But I also think like I don't know if you agree, but do you think it's going to get saturated? Like, do you think there's going to be too many, wannabe producers and just spitting out like tons of generated music?
100%. I mean, look at even like prior to the proliferation of all of these AI tools in the last year and a half, there are 120,000 songs uploaded to Spotify every single day. I mean, that alone could already be deemed as saturation within the market. We could see 1 million songs uploaded to Spotify every single day in a year. Like, that could very well be the case. What's stopping that? I'm infatuated with now are these AI-generated TikTok influencers and these new companies that are just pushing out 500 to 1,000 pieces of new content every day with AI-generated influencers, with AI-generated scripts. Like, if they're using that for ad content, like, that will probably be applied to music at some point. So I wouldn't be shocked if we reach 1 million songs every day. And yeah, like we absolutely, we may already be at the point of saturation, but again, that opens the door for new opportunities. I think curators, we're going to put a more emphasis on them than ever before. The pendulum of time always swings. You go back like 15 years, God, I'm aging myself. I guess like 15 years ago, I was in high school, and like I would spend every day on like, this song is sick and hot new hip hop and like Hip Hop DX and all these blog websites. And, they were the curators. They were the arbiters of what was cool, of like what was in. And I think we're going to swing back to that direction where the last 8 years or so, the algorithm was kind of pushing us and pulling us to different places. But now going forward, I think we're going to go back to like the Anthony, Fantanos of the world. I hope I didn't pronounce his name wrong. And we're going to cut that out if I did. But like, those people of the world. But I don't think now it's going to take the form of blogs. It's going to take the form of curators and creatives on social media itself. But yeah, we're definitely at saturation, and it's only going to get more saturated. But it just gives rise to the curators of the world, the people that can filter through all the shit and be like, yo, this is real artistry. Place it on a pedestal and have the means of distribution to put it in front of people. And people will gravitate towards that. Like, people want the human element. I think people are getting sick and tired of just getting fed what the algorithm tells them to.
And I think like, social media has played a big role in that, like very recently as well, where there's a lot of artists and musicians like up and coming, and they're just showing their journey, and everyone loves that. And everyone's kind of like following that now rather than high production Instagram posts or TikToks. They love the raw kind of edgy new artists that they've just found, and they feel privileged that they've just found like a new artist on social media. It's definitely helping. The saturation's there, but you're right, there's going to be space for everyone. And I think whoever brands themselves right and uses social in a way is going to excel more than others. And then there's going to be a place for AI music as well. There's going to be creators that are just talking about new AI music.
And I think something else that's important to touch upon is almost like the nicheification of this. And that's something else that's been created through the algorithms, in the sense of you'll have these accounts on socials. It could be just literally like hyperpop daily or R&B daily. Like you're going to go into such specific niches and genres. And I think rarely you're just going to have the overarching, we cover every music genre, that's just not really where the success is going to be. It's going to be creating and being the voice within your hyper specific niche. And whether you're a person or it's like, whether Saving Connie or This Joint is Wavy, I think those are incredible curation accounts now on social media. But I think that's the direction in which we're moving.
For those 120,000 tracks that are uploaded, I'm sure like 90% of those people aren't doing anything beyond making the music and uploading it to Spotify. So what's your advice for those people and the other 10% to actually compete? And like, what is the new bare minimum for an artist that just posted their song on Spotify? Like, how do they get traction?
It really comes down to the story you're telling. I think more than ever, like storytelling and creative have never been more important to cut through all of the noise and differentiating yourself and ensuring you have this creative through line across all the visual touch points, within your building. You look at established artists like Tyler, the Creator. He's absolutely incredible when it comes to that. Every new album area he comes out is distinct from the last one. And it shows up across every visual element, whether it's the album art, whether it's the set design on tour, whether it's the music videos, whether it's the vinyl, the inserts, the CDs. They all have this creative through line. And now when you look at this emerging set of artists, the ones that are standing out are the ones, again, that are really leaning into elevated creative and just having that across. Like Doechii, I think, is putting on a masterclass right now of what creative can be across the TV episodes, her live performances, everything.
She's killing it. She's crushing it right now.
She's crushing it. You look at a Foggy Raw with his visuals. I mean, his visuals and his creative are the reason that he has gotten to where he is, how he got the record label deal. You look at someone else like Nasin out of Detroit. I mean, his On the Block freestyle was incredible. The storytelling element, and again, that shows up across everything he does. His creative is so elevated, and it's separating himself. When you see dilution and you see, saturation and all this content, like you have to be able to cut through that, and creative and storytelling is the way to do that. So I think that is a key pillar, and you have to match that with just authenticity. Like you need to be you across everything. Like if on your music videos, you're, driving Lambos and you're living a lavish life, and then on your Instagram, you're just a humble guy, people aren't going to understand who you are. You need to be authentic to yourself, and you need elevated creative, and that needs to come across in every single touch point that you have, because you don't know if someone's entering your ecosystem through TikTok, through YouTube Shorts, through Instagram. So you have to make sure that you're the same across it.
Going back to those artists like Tyler, like I love Tyler, like he's one of my favorite artists. Those guys are really the offspring of like the hip hop that we once knew, like where a lot of artists like the Nas's and the Wu-Tangs, they built like a experience. There was kind of like this experience that we all had listening to those albums and those old school artists. And I feel like Doechii and Tyler have come from that. They're like, it's like they've been educated from that era as well, and they've just taken it forward. So, you can see it come through the music, you can see it come through the visuals. Like it's kind of like how back in the day when like Missy Elliott came out with crazy visuals and Timbaland and stuff, and it was just like the future. So I feel like a lot of the new artists and a lot of the ones that just generate music and are just pumping out music, those are the guys that are just stuck in the studio, but they're not really thinking about, how they can kind of serve the art as well. And so that's kind of like where I see what you're saying, Tyler, with, separating yourself through visuals, through everything, just the whole experience as a whole.
And I think something else, just quickly building on that, is like the way that you engage with your fans. Like, I think Russ has done such an incredible job with making fans family and inviting them into the creative process, whether that's through remix competitions, whether it's putting out his own app and putting his own money into the app. I think he spent like $40K making an app where fans could pick what songs they wanted to hear. Or someone like a Fred again, who has people send content from their live shows in the Discord, and then he uses that as Spotify canvases, or he'll take voice notes from fans and he spins that into a song. Like, fans more than ever want to be a part of the process. And that's nothing new. I mean, fans were making fan pages back in the day. You look at Grateful Dead. I mean, every Grateful Dead fan probably has made their own piece of merch, and that has what's made them so long and endearing. But I think now more than ever too, you need to be engaging with your fans. You need to be talking with them. Like, you look at artists who have, thriving Discords with tens of thousands of fans in there. Like, fans want the personal connection as well now more than ever. And it's important to lean into them. Like, if I was a new artist, I'd put a song out. Even if I had 10 fans, I'd send them all a Zoom link and I would hop into Zoom and I would talk to them and I'd say, yo, what's up? Mary, Jeff, Johnny, name. How are you? Like, let's get to, and by the way, like, then they have this emotional connection with you forever. And guess what? Then they're going to go tell their friends, be like, yo, I just hopped into Zoom with my favorite artist. This guy's great. And guess what's the number one driver of discovery? It's going to be word of mouth from your friends. So by fostering that and stoking the fire, you get a network effect where now you have 10 other people as your de facto, on the ground marketers telling their friends like, hey, this artist is sick. He just hopped in here with me. Like, you got to check him out, and then it's going to snowball.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I think that's underrated advice. Is like, a lot of artists are chasing that like massive number of streams. Like, oh, how do I get 1 million streams on this first record? But like, to get to 1 million, you have to pass 1, and you have to pass 10, and then 100. And so it's fine to like really take it into your own hands and find those 100 people, and make sure that they love your music.
So with your experience with all of the labels that you've worked with, what's the whole sentiment about what we've just been talking about, like the future of music and how artists are, running their profiles and the distribution and everything like that? What's the sentiment in the environment of record labels?
It seems like the sentiment now is it's more difficult than ever to create a moment. You need to now be more reactive than ever and be ready to pour gasoline on the spark, but it's very difficult to create the spark. So, we see this big shift instead of going as wide as possible and the focus being, we're just going to get as many eyeballs on this as we can, which, historically was the goal. It's almost now been flipped on its head. And it's, instead of going as wide as possible, let's go as deep as possible. Like, we already have this existing core group of fans. And if you're an artist signed to a record label, odds are you are going to have some, like, you're not starting from zero. Like, you are going to have some core group of fans that are following you. So the approach can be, okay, like, we have these 1,000 fans. Let's talk to them. How do we make their experience the better? Because I believe it's like 2% of your fans are making up like 20% of your streams, 50% of your merch sales. Those are your core consumer. So let's make sure that they have the best overall time. And going back to what we just spoke about, they're your evangelists. They're the ones that love you more than anything. They're the ones that are naturally going to post about your music, that want to let everyone know about you. So it's okay, like, how are we satiating them, stoking that fire? And you see that through, the setup of Discords or more intimate fan events in certain cities around album releases. So I think that's been, the big focus and understanding is, okay, the historic amplifiers that we've used to get eyeballs, i.e. the radio, the TV slots, while still effective and artists still want them, they don't have the effect that they had 25, 10, 30 years ago. We're beholden to algorithms. So we need an always on strategy. It's not just, okay, artist, you're going to show up during album cycle and then go away. We need to make sure you're part of the conversation and in the eyes of the consumer 24/7, 365. And only a select few of established artists, cannot do that. No one can really be Kendrick Lamar and just come in and out. And you have to be omnipresent across all different spaces. Like you just need to increase your surface area as much as possible at the top of the funnel to bring fans in to, ultimately super fandom.
We had a follow up about like our conversation of authenticity and like making sure your brand is authentic to yourself across all touch points. I kind of, the first person I came to mind when you said that was like Marshmello. Like he's anonymous. Nobody really knows who he is, but everyone loves his music. And so what are some ways people who are maybe more shy or like self-conscious can build a musical brand, either as a character or persona or while staying anonymous? And how do they make that still feel authentic and connect with their audience?
I think it's going on, continuing the core tenets we spoke about of you can still be authentic even if your face isn't showing. You can still have elevated creative across everything you do. And you can still engage with your fans in unique and intimate ways. I mean, you look at, Marshmello's never showed his face. Daft Punk never showed their face. Orville Peck doesn't show his face. And these are all really successful, established artists. So I think as long as you, hold true to those three core tenets we just discussed, whether you put, a bag over your head or an AI overlay over yourself. I mean, hell, look at the Gorillas. The Gorillas were animated and they crushed. So I think you just need to hold true to those three things and you can really achieve whatever you want.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a big element of what real music is actually a lot of the things outside of the music. A lot of the experience that you create beyond the music is what makes the music real to people.
I think that's very well put.
I wanted to get into deep prints. Tell us about deep prints. I feel like what we've just been talking about is incorporated in your newfound company.
Well, that's a great question. Deep prints is this ball of clay that I'm molding each and every day. But at its core, it touches on everything that I have lived and worked and breathed within the last 10 years. One component, mainly it's rooted within, music's at its core. You can see that within the logo. You can see that with, my life and what I've done. I think music is one of the most unique and special mediums. It transcends national boundaries. It transcends emotions. It brings people together. Few things, if any, can do that. It stands the test of time. We still listen to Beethoven and Bach and Mozart. And, in 200 years, people will still listen to Taylor Swift and The Weeknd and, the incredible artists of today. So first and foremost, it is very much rooted in music. And secondly, one of our core tenets is legacy and working with individuals, artists, brands, gaming companies, tech companies that really want to leave an impact, that they want to leave their imprint on this world. So many things are fleeting and surface level in today. And the core of what we want to work on are, campaigns, brands, individuals that, will be here forever and people will talk about for a long time. So from a music perspective, working with different artists, working with different labels, helping them with creative campaigns, helping them with marketing, currently working on a global marketing campaign for one of the biggest K-pop artists in the world that, you'll see in a couple months, helping them kind of rework super fan frameworks. Like what is the artist to fan interaction? What does that look like? How do you actually satiate that fandom and make them feel like they're part of the artist process, that they know the artist? I think Hybe does a great job of that, with Weverse. One of their core tenets is we want the fan to feel like they're living and breathing with the artist every day. And it's like, how do you do that at scale? How do you do that for an entire roster of artists for a record label? So, focusing on that and getting artists into gaming. At 29 years old, I never thought I would know as much about Roblox as I do. But you know what? I know a lot about Roblox and, it's fascinating to see the consumer behavior. And in my mind, Roblox is more social than a social media platform. Like, what's more social? You sitting here on your phone by yourself with your individual tailor-made feed through the algorithm that's just for you, or you hop in this, artist Roblox experience with 8 of your friends over voice chat, all wearing digital outfits of the artist. Like one is so much more social than the other. Gaming almost needs a rebrand because I feel like people think of gaming and they're like, oh, it's the kid by himself in his basement. But it's like, no, like Roblox is the modern mall. Like when I was a teenager, I would go to the mall and hang out with my friends. These kids hop in Roblox. Hell, even when I was a teenager, a fun Friday night would be all my friends and I are at home playing Call of Duty in an Xbox party together. Like that was hanging out and that was social. And that's only, become more true today because your individualism within these games has increased even more. There's this fascinating study between Parsons and Roblox where I think it's like 40% of kids cared more about how their avatar looked than like they did in the real world. Like I can wear the same t-shirt every day in Roblox. If I did that in the real world, I'd smell terrible, and it's, so it's kind of like understanding these shifts in consumer behavior. Like if Roblox was its own economy, like I can't even imagine where it would rank in GDP. Like it has to be top 20 or top 30 in countries.
I'm glad you brought up gaming, because this is one thing that I think a lot of artists are sleeping on, is the fact that there are ways to reach your audience through game and in other environments than just like TikTok or Instagram. So what are do you have any examples of either things you've done or campaigns you've seen where an artist was able to just like amplify their audience or engage with them deeper through things like Roblox or Fortnite?
Absolutely. I think a great example of that is, Twice Square, which I helped launch at Republic probably like around 2 years ago now. Because historically, within Roblox, it was just concerts. And the approach was almost kind of like, FIFA World Cup soccer stadiums where you invest all this money, you have this grandiose event, and then you look at like those old soccer stadiums in Brazil, like they're just vines, growing over them and trees, and they're unused. So people would put all this investment, into this space, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to create this moment. And it was fleeting. They would barely recoup any of the money. They would lose a lot of money. And it came and went. But for Twice, it was a different approach. It was like, okay, you have a presence across all social media. What does it look like to actually create a persistent hangout space for your fans to come in and day out, speak with one another, constantly update it, don't make it stale, it's not one and done, and really invest in it. And, we did just that. And you can see from the results 2 years later that it really resonated with fans. It's the #1 most visited artist experience in Roblox history. It's approaching 100 million visits. They have done 2 meet and greets within there. The last one broke Roblox's record, I believe, for most concurrence. It was around like 33,000. And it's just a testament to one, showing up where your audience is and, creating something that's engaging and inherently social. The fans really, really reacted well to it. And this is something that's living and breathing. And, if you go in it right now, I bet there's maybe 100 fans playing. It's even grown. It's one of the top 10 across all brands, like not even just, music. Like they have more visits than Chipotle. Like, and I think that speaks to the fervor of K-pop fans and, what they do, but also just, trying new things and experimenting and, understanding the fan consumer behavior. But I also think it's worth noting that not every artist can do that. Like, there is upfront investment involved in that. There is the need for, at least in this case, a development studio to come in, and you need to make updates. And I'd be lying if I said every emerging artist is able to do that. Simply not the case. But at the same time, it's like not every artist can play Madison Square Garden. Not every artist can play Staples Center. You need to grow and get to that point. But what you can do is this. One, hit up your fans. When I was at Republic, I won't say the artist's name, but there was a fan who was like, yo, I absolutely love you. Look at this. And he built out an incredibly detailed world within Fortnite for the artist. Or even, an example, if you go on Roblox and you search Nicki Minaj, there is a fan-made Nicki Minaj world that is the equivalent of, like, in my mind, like a 6-figure plus development from a pro developer. It is done so well, and a fan just did it because they love the artist. So in the same way that maybe 10 to 12 years ago, fans would go on Instagram and they would create a fan account to show their support, understanding that kids, I think it's like 70% of like 13-year-olds in the United States play this game, understanding that this is where the kids are spending time, see if they're down to build, like see if they are building, hit them up, be like, yo, I really want to do something on Roblox. Are any of you there? Are any of you interested in working together? Like, I'm down to give you, tickets to my shows. I'll send you exclusive merch. We can hop on FaceTimes. Like, get involved. I'd be shocked if a fan didn't jump on that.
By the way, the Roblox is open for anyone to develop and release your own worlds on it. So I mean, it might be for non-developers, it's probably not feasible, but for any musicians that have even rudimentary coding experience, you could probably make a Roblox world in a day that just features your music if you wanted.
Yeah, Roblox is like akin to YouTube in the same way that YouTube's a two-way platform where you can go on and, have the consumers go on to watch the videos. And then you also have this cohort are the creators that post the videos. It's the same thing on Roblox. They have 30 to 40 million plus of these immersive experiences. So part of the cohort goes on to play. The other, cohort goes on to, create. And some of these experiences have billions and billions and billions of visits. These are, true things that drive culture.
What would you say, like the behavior you mentioned where it's like, okay, you've got these people who are actively creating and then people who are actively consuming that. I kind of see that kind of coming into the music industry and becoming like a new Spotify. Like what would Spotify look like and what would it entail if part of the audience could more actively co-create on the platform itself?
And great question. I mean, I think we're seeing some of those behaviors bubble up on platforms like BandLab, where it's almost this mix of creations, SoundCloud, that's where David really got his start. But I think we're seeing beginning elements of it there. I'm honestly surprised that record labels aren't experimenting more within Roblox specifically, because I mean, look at the music video. In the early 90s, you had MTV and you had the birth of the music video. And you have this new moment where artists can tie this beautiful visual world to the audible story. And you can invite fans in entirely new ways. And with these immersive experiences, we're kind of at another watershed moment where artists can build out immersive, interactive worlds for fans to go explore. The music video is an inherently linear experience. You're sitting there, you're looking at the laptop and you're seeing it. And listen, like 12-year-old Tyler was glued to MTV and spent hours and hours and hours teleporting from one world to another. And I loved every single part of it. But now kids can do that in an entirely new way. We're going back to what we were saying. You can create a world around your album and 8 friends can hop in, talk to one another, explore it together, get decked out in all the clothing from that world. And, yes, if you want to do it well, it's going to take a 6-figure, maybe even less. Like, it's going to take an investment. You have to invest in it. And it's something where you need to update it regularly. You can't just create it and walk away. But all of that to say, like, 1, you can recoup through the sale of goods within there. 2, you're engaging and developing your audience in new ways. And 3, you're establishing a presence on this platform. You're getting followers. And 4, the content and the interactions that happen on this platform, they bleed off onto quote unquote traditional social platforms. Like, go on TikTok and look up Twice Roblox. If you add up all the views of those videos, it's probably hundreds of millions of views. And it wasn't from content created for this. It was based off of the Roblox experience. I think for Nicki Minaj as well, we created something for her on Roblox. And, the trailer for that, probably one of the top 10 most viewed TikToks of hers on her platform. So it just goes to show that, the secondary effects of building in these spaces almost check the boxes of what the music video does in the first place.
Is there any other new spaces like up and coming, like a new Roblox, or like is there something new coming that might in the next 5 to 10 years be the next big thing where artists and companies can use? Because like Roblox been around for quite a while.
If all this talk of the metaverse a couple of years ago, Roblox was truly that. It's shared experience. You have interoperability. You have a digital ecosystem, and they've really crushed it. I do think, though, that, Epic Games is a player to watch within this space. They're moving Fortnite to be a platform similar to Roblox where, you can see it. It's no longer just Battle Royale. You have the investment from Disney. You have the Lego worlds. You have their creator fund. They're also really leaning into, okay, we want people creating experiences as well. And sure, the Battle Royale will be the core and we'll always have this game mode. But let's build out other experiences as well. And I think if you look, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, that's the vision that they're going to work towards. Unreal Engine in and of itself is one of the most incredible pieces of technology. And with the integration of AI, the ability to create worlds is only going to get easier and easier and easier. In the same way, you look at coding. I think like the profound effects that AI is having on coding, like I think you will have large language models where it's like, okay, create me a beautiful, expansive field with these trees. I don't like that tree. Let's like swipe through. Like, it's going to be like in the same way you go 15 years ago, it was probably really tough to make a website. Now you can just literally type in and be like, I want the website to look like this in a sense. And like, boom, it's been created. I think we'll get to a point where it's much easier to create these worlds that fans are living within on these platforms.
Yeah. Going back to the AI, is there any AI tools that you guys use?
One, like I live on the Perplexity Claudes and like Chat GPTs, and I know, obviously they're dealing with their legal issues with the music industry right now, I guess specifically Anthropic here. Right now, I'm putting together a deck for a client. Perplexity has been my best friend throughout all of this, through the real-time searching, being able to scour the internet, giving me references for it all so I can cross-reference them. I mean, it's cut what I do damn near in half in that one instance, even from, creative writing within, the decks that I make or within these presentations. It's like, sure, I have to come up with the foundational elements, but for them to be refined, or, the other night, it was like 11:30 p.m. and my brain was damn near running on empty. And I had to, come up with an opening paragraph, and it needed to draw people in, and it set the tone and be creative. And I wrote 4 sentences at a 5th grade level, and I threw it into Claude, and it spit out a masterpiece. And, it was incredible. Even just this morning, I was looking at a company called arcads.ai, and it's just going back to the conversation of where you can just pump out 1 million pieces of content through AI-generated avatars, and that's how you can bring people in top of funnel. What does that look like when that's applied to music? What happens when I can create 100,000 curators within music? What happens when, I'm bumping out 500 ads that says like, yo, have you heard the hardest new hip hop song? And it points to it. These are new ways of distribution and reaching people from an awareness standpoint, because the way that these algorithms are now shifting, like you look at, I think Gary Vee touched upon this, where it's like he posted one video to another video. First video had like 3 million, the next video had like 200,000. Your folks may not see all your videos. So it's kind of like a spray and pray model now. And it's like getting the most amount of content out there as possible, and the most amount of high quality content. And the way to do that's through AI. So all that to say, like, I'm enamored by everything within the space. I just downloaded Google's latest report on AI agents, between that and Jensen Huang, nonstop, heralding this as the next, iteration and use case, calling it $1 trillion industry for AI. Like, how can this be applied within music? And I would love to be the one to figure that out and implementing that within label ecosystems, within artist ecosystems.
What are some of your ideas with agents? How do you see AI agents playing a role for artists? Like, what are some ideas that you have?
Yes, we will save that for the next one, because I need to do a lot more research into that space. But I mean, hell, what if you have an agent that can, like, my booking AI agent that's negotiating with the agent of like a venue. Like, I think there are so many different ways that like this can come about. But I also am keenly aware that, I know what I don't know, and I don't know very deep levels of this yet. So I don't want to speak on a topic that I'm not very fluent in. But once I'm done reading these reports and deep diving into the space, we can have an exciting V2 of this conversation once I have more concrete ideas around it.
Even like when, I just joined Controller Voice and the voice swapping stuff, like I was just super excited. And I'm a music producer, and, using some of the AI tools has just blown me away. But also in the beginning, we tend to kind of veer away from it because we feel that it's fake. There's a lot of kind of premise behind it, but now I'm really embracing it and really finding tools that are just helping the flow and the process. Is it like that in labels? Are labels kind of veering away from AI, or are they embracing it?
I think it's both. Technology pushes creativity forward. Go back 15 years, auto-tune was blasphemous. If you would have said that, hey, you can overlay this on your vocals and you sound like a different person, the pure art, like people that loved pure artistry would be like, oh my God, like how could you do that? You're just diluting, the vocalists of the world. And guess what? Playboi Carti's probably the hottest, hip hop artist for the younger generation, and leverages it. So it's like in the beginning, there's going to be apprehension because it's something new. But, over time, I do think this is going to push creativity forward, and, it'll become more normalized. But I think the auto-tune comparison is just a great one here, because it was technology that changed artistry. And like you're talking about using like from like a flow perspective, like this like directly changed the art. Like this was we were changing people's voices. And, fast forward, some of the biggest artists in the world, whether you from Travis Scott to Playboi Carti to Kanye West, use it. And it's like by no means like a knock, like, hell yeah, use it, change your voice. Like, let's hear something new. Let's see how you can mold and wield this technology. So I think, like, yes, there is apprehension, but there will also be people who adopt it and find sick new ways to incorporate it. And I think the consumer will, at least there will be a subset of consumers that will love it, just as we see now.
Yeah, I remember when people thought auto-tune was like a passing fad. They were like, oh, T-Pain's already done it. Like, there's no room for another auto-tune rapper. And it's like every rapper in the top 100 now is just auto-tune.
Literally. Like, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, one of the top comments we get when we demo when I demo my AI voice, one of the top comments or most common comments I get is like, why don't you just sing it? Like, you're not actually singing. This isn't real singing. And like, yeah, I didn't sing it, but it's my voice and I wanted to say this in this way. So what's the difference? And I think that's like, I kind of see a lot of parallels with autotune where this might become something just like so commonplace. People don't really think about it in that way.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that side.
Going back to Deep Prints, can anyone join or contact you? Like, how does it work, and what is the process?
So Deep Prints really has two main arms as of now, a third coming in the future. The first of which is this strategic consulting firm that I've built out. I have a few people under me as of now for design and community management. But the main people, these are record labels and artists. If you need help with, getting within the gaming world, creative marketing strategy, how do you set up, a modern fan CRM system? Like, for example, like, you should know, like, hey, Tyler, Rohan, and Jeff, these are your top 3 most streamed fans every month. So next month, we saw Rohan dropped off by 20%. Why is that? We should message him something to see if we can get him up to his normal consumption rates, and like, that doesn't really exist right now. And there's some incredible companies building these CRM tools, and all of which, I'm very close with the founders of them. So I'm very good at setting up a framework within that space. Whether, you're a gaming company and you want help with your music strategy, both from, integrating product within your game. I think something fascinating was Stinger of late. We launched that within, Twice Square, but that's pretty much a fully licensed product where people can listen to music within, gaming spaces, and help source artist partnerships. And if you're a music and tech company, I met with hundreds, if not damn near 1,000 music and tech companies to figure out what products and platforms we should be integrating, both from an internal efficiency standpoint, from a research standpoint, but also, for artists to connect with their fans and for their creative. So I have a great understanding of that ecosystem, what works, what doesn't, what holes to fill, and connecting people to the right people to get their products, used. And lastly, for just overall brands, like, say you're a major sports league or you're a Fortune 500 company, you should probably have a music strategy. You should probably have a gaming strategy. And guess what? You should work with someone who has launched the most successful artist experience on Roblox, who understands the gaming ecosystem, who has the network. So if you fall in any of those 4 buckets, please email me. I'm right here. And then in 2025, there's going to be a technology arm as well, where I'm working on building a couple platforms and products that I will integrate into label ecosystems, artist ecosystems, to help from the fans and interaction, from a marketing perspective as well. So, that's getting built out right now. And I think for the second half of this year, we'll see the launch of those. And then at some point this year, the third arm, and I'm going to say it, I'm making a clothing line and I'm making a sneaker line, because I love that shit. And that's what makes me happy. Growing up, I had shelves of Nike SBs, and as you can see from my logo, it is 2 footprints. You could be damn sure that those are going to go from 2D image to 3D on my feed at some point.
Nice.
And for my first campaign, my mom and my dad are going to be the models, and they're going to be rocking them in New York City. And I got the whole image planned out, and I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Oh, that's going to be dope. Bro, I'm a sneakerhead too. And like, now we have things like, generative apps like Midjourney and stuff. It's so easy to just bring out your ideas and make them come to life in just a prompt,
Exactly. I got my sneaker making classes in Williamsburg. I'm locked in. So keep your eye out. Q4 or Q3, you'll see the first Deep Print sneaker, hoodie, velour sweats. 2025 is a year of all mediums are coming out for Deep Prints. This is,
and that's going to go crazy as well, because you're like a marketing genius. from this whole conversation. So,
Look for my Roblox UGC of my Deep Prince shit.
yeah, you're going to be all over it. I can see it.
If you're watching this right now and you're an artist and you want to get into audience development, creative strategy, or gaming with your music, definitely hit up Tyler. We've worked with him a ton at Control Voice at all his past labels, and I can't recommend him enough.
Much appreciated. Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you both. I had a great time. This was this is my first podcast, so I enjoyed it. Honored, and huge fan of Controlla. Likewise, and what you've built out. I mean, Ron and I have been talking for damn near over a year and a half, and I've learned so much about the AI space, and the most important thing is they're doing it ethically, which is by and far the most important thing here. So kudos to you. Kudos to what you're building. Jeff, this was such a pleasure. I'm really excited to see where you guys go from here. And, I know our paths are going to continue to cross. So,
yeah, we're looking forward to having you on the podcast again, maybe a year from now. Catch up.
Yeah, I want some of them sneakers. That's what I'm excited about.
We'll be in touch. Don't worry. I'll have my AI agent reach out in 2 months.
All right, guys. Well, that was Tyler Eilenberg. Thank you for joining us. And this has been the What's Real Music Show. And please join us and subscribe to our channel. We'll leave the descriptions below to Deep Prince. And if you're not using Controller Voice right now, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can try out Controller Voice, so you can swap your voice to any instrument or build your own choir. And if you like videos like this, then you might like a video like this where I show you how to sing your favorite pop song in your AI voice. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
Only saxophones, baby.